Well, hello and welcome to Pop Culture Redemption. You know, we've been doing a lot of brand new movies and cultural commentary recently, which has been really good, but we've decided we'd like to take a step back and actually sprinkle in a few more movies from previous decades that still carry cultural significance. So today we decided to do the movie Finding Nemo, which actually provided a lot of really great discussion points for finding God in this world that Disney Pixar created a little over 20 years ago. And also, just on the front end, this episode is actually going to be the last one of season 2 for the podcast. It was a short season where we tried some different things in Pop CR, including launching a Patreon and moving to an every other week podcast schedule. And we're glad we tried some new stuff, but ultimately it's just not having the results that we were hoping for. So we're going to change. We've decided we're going to go ahead and celebrate what's been good, conclude season 2, and kickstart weekly podcasts again in season 3 at the end of October. But one change from season 2 that we are definitely sticking with is the addition of Kim and Priscilla to the Pop CR team, and they will be regular contributors moving forward. Also, if you could, go ahead and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Pop Culture Redemption to stay up to speed on all things Pop Culture Redemption related and all news and all changes and everything that's happening. And now, without further ado, it's time to cue the theme song and get into this great conversation we had on the movie Finding Nemo.
Pop Bears beats Battlestar.
Suck it.
Stay on target.
You can't handle the truth.
Stay on target.
It's over 9,000. What, 9,000?
With great power comes great responsibility.
There's only one God, man. I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Pop Culture Redemption. My name is Connor.
I'm Jake.
I'm Priscilla.
I'm Jordan Summers, and I am the copy pasta time forgot.
Can you say that again?
I'm Jordan Summers, and I am the copy pasta time forgot.
What?
A copy
What is
pasta?
What's a copy pasta?
Oh, you innocent, sweet summer children.
Please
Copy-
explain it for the audience. We know what it is, obviously.
Yeah,
Obviously, but for the audience.
For the audience. So, audience, a copy pasta is something that went around in early internet meme culture. Think like early Reddit. People would have this big wall of text that they would copy and paste onto other forums or boards or whatever. And a copy pasta was usually something it had made its way around a while. It's usually like a big story. It's like sometimes there's silly ones and it's just usually like a copy pasta, or it's like baby, you're so cute, and like if you cry every time, that kind of thing,
Or like share if you love Jesus?
No, because it's not like a little small tagline. It's like a paragraph.
I think, I know what you're talking about now. Okay.
Several paragraphs.
So it's more like
Imagine
what's the most
chick track of silliness. Like it's like a chick track that's a meme.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you for
also
the education.
There's also the horror version, or like the scary, spooky version of the copy pasta, which is called a creepy pasta.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
And some of those,
I've heard of this.
Yep. And some of those are legitimately nightmare inducing.
Yes.
Come on.
All right,
Yeah,
so
creepypasta is weird. Okay, sorry, keep going.
hit us with the one-liner. Now that we know what a copy pasta is,
Okay.
hit one more
I'm
time.
Jordan Summers, and I am the copy pasta time forgot.
Yeah.
Love it. Oh my gosh.
I don't know if that's good or bad. I've got my brain wrapped around like 60% of that, but you know what? We're going to let it marinate. And we're going to keep going because we're here to help the church have a better vision about God's presence and work in popular culture. And Jordan's helping us do that by telling us what a copy pasta is. All right, we're diving right in. Finding Nemo. Here we go. Let's get on board. Let's get on this train. So we're turning it back over to Jordan. He's going to hit us with some fun facts about Nemo.
Wouldn't
we
we
get
get
on
on
the
the
boat
boat, not the
instead?
train? Yeah, thank you.
Well, I mean, you can touch the butt, but we're not going to get on the butt.
But trains don't go in water.
That's your opinion. They can go underwater. All right, Jordan.
Jordan,
Well,
get some
anyway.
facts.
Fun facts,
Okay.
please.
All right, so some fun facts about the movie we're talking about, Finding Nemo. Number 1, Finding Nemo's 21st anniversary is this year.
Ooh.
That means it's drinking age.
Ooh.
Nice.
Time to
Time to
pour
get
some
turned.
vodka. Pour some
Look
vodka
at
in that
that.
fish tank.
About to get turned.
Nemo's legally old enough. Let's do it.
Goodness.
Just keep drinking. Just keep drinking. Yep, there we go. So there's that. Finding Nemo's director is named Andrew Stanton, which is also the name of Disciples' lead
Here we go.
guitarist.
There we go. Yep. I was like, I've heard that name before.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Yep. Shout out to Andrew if you're listening. I doubt it, but still. Speaking of Andrew Stanton, there's a lot of director Andrew Stanton facts in this song, or in this segment. Crush is voiced by Andrew Stanton. The dude
Nice.
turtle Crush.
Far out, man.
Yeah.
Mr.
Radical,
Turtle
dude.
is my father.
He wasn't actually planning on being in it, but it just worked out that way. And Crush's son, Squirt, thank you, is voiced by Pixar director Brad Bird. And not voiced by director Brad Bird, but voiced by Brad Bird's son.
That's cool.
Which was a decision made. I don't think Crush was originally going to be in the film, and I don't think Squirt was originally going to be in the film. But Squirt was created when Andrew Stanton heard Brad Bird's son's voice in a recording that Brad Bird was playing. He's like, "Yeah, I want that voice in the movie."
Well, I'd say that worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
Cuckoo.
This is a fun one. It was inspired. This is basically from here on out. This is basically director Andrew Stanton's facts. Finding Nemo was inspired by Andrew Stanton's childhood. Andrew Stanton directed, co-wrote, and got story by credit on Finding Nemo. The idea for the film came together over the years, but it really began with Stanton's childhood. As a kid, his dentist had a fish tank, and Stanton imagined those fish were from the ocean and wanted to go home.
Mm. That's cool.
And let's do one more quick little fact here. The shark's name is a reference to a blockbuster. Can anybody guess what the reference is?
It's like a blockbuster
Bruce?
film.
Bruce.
Bruce Almighty?
Nope.
That's my best shot.
Is it a Bruce Lee movie?
Nope. It's more obvious than you would think.
Robert the Bruce?
Robert the Bruce?
I have no idea what that is.
I don't know what that is. Okay, so Bruce, the villainous shark, owes his name to another great white from pop culture. The animatronic shark used in the making of Jaws was nicknamed Bruce on set. That nickname was itself in reference to Steven Spielberg's lawyer.
I feel like we're tracing like genealogies here.
Bruce
And his lawyer was named after his father, who was named after.
It was named after the drummer of Disciple.
Yeah, there you go. It all comes back.
Joey West.
Yes. Everything connects to Disciple.
This was all in the age of Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Tie that biblical reference together. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Fun facts. Nemo.
Fun facts with Jordan. We need like a jingle for the.
We do need a jingle.
Hey, there you go. All right. This has been Fun Facts with Jordan. All right, we're moving right into our Rejoice, Reject, Redeem. So we're jumping right into Rejoice. And I think Priscilla gets to start us off right this time. So Priscilla, what would you like to rejoice from this movie that is good?
Well, one thing that is good is that I feel seen and understood because Dory is my best friend. Because Dory is me through and through. Since I was a child, I just knew, like, that's my destiny. I'm always going to forget things. But then, you find the one thing that's really important to you and you can remember it and you can hold on to that. So, like, I feel like I'm doing good. Like, I have things that I remember, but there's just things I always will forget no matter what. And my husband doesn't get to say any comments on that because he's just as bad.
Aw, am I your Marlin?
I don't know about that. But anyways, no, but like in a little bit more seriousness, I really actually enjoy the fact that they have a Dory for Marlin, because I think sometimes we can get really caught up in like having to have perfect friends or people who like, and maybe I'm just thinking now as adults, like everyone has to act a specific way as an adult. You can't mess around, you can't have fun, you can't do certain things, whatever. And I think we all need Dories in our life, or at least just the people who make us laugh, the people who make us remember things. Maybe sometimes a person who makes us feel like we're a little smarter than we actually are, whatever that might be. It's just having those relationships that I think it's really important. So I just rejoice that Marlin ended up with a friend who, as far as we could see, didn't end up falling in love with her. They just were really, really good friends who got to go on an adventure together. And I think we need those friends to go on adventures with.
Yeah.
It's true. P. Sherman
No, 'cause-
Forrest Wallaby Way, Sydney.
Stop it. It's ridiculous.
That's not important to me, so I don't ever remember that part.
No. It's fair. Right on. My rejoice. Well, one, okay, so I don't know if y'all knew this, but our boy William Dafoe voiced Gil.
Yeah. It was a firefight.
Yes. I never realized that until I watched it through, and I was like, wait, that's William Dafoe.
He
If you're
actually
like-
plays a good guy for once.
I know, yeah. Well, I mean, he starts as kind of like not a necessarily bad guy, but definitely a mysterious, is he
True.
good, is he bad, ambiguous, and then he turns out to be a really solid dude. He just has trauma in his past,
It's true.
Imagine that. So
It's
anyways,
unrelatable.
I rejoice that William Dafoe voiced Gil, and I've seen this movie like 15 times, and this was the first time I realized it. So for real, I rejoice the just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, because it just reminds me of perseverance. And I think obviously the Bible has a lot to say about perseverance, the value of perseverance. I thought of James 4:7 says, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that Jesus has promised to those who love him." So I really appreciate that message. And oftentimes, like when I'm going through some hard stuff or, fighting through a tough day or whatever, like that will come to my mind, to just keep swimming, just keep swimming. So I really appreciate that, and I rejoice just that aspect of perseverance.
Perseverance is basically just per se and verance combined.
Per se.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like self-steering.
Nice.
I like it. I like it.
Jordan, you got anything you want to, just sprinkle on here on the back end to rejoice?
Don't phrase it like that.
You just sprinkle. Sprinkle.
Stop it.
I would like to rejoice the fact that the prodigal son story is it's kind of a trope in pop culture. Like, it's something that pop culture sees and acknowledges and enjoys and uses. And I'd just like to rejoice that pop culture takes that story and uses it and embraces it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, culture could be like, oh, that son, like, totally like, wait, no. He's trash. Let him go. Let the son go
He's
learn his
canceled.
own lesson. Canceled, or just like, let him learn his own lesson. Let him like, oh, and like if he comes crawling back, yeah. Like, I want to hear like, there's no grace, right? The pop culture could do that, but they don't.
Yeah, it's like in this one instance, they celebrate forgiveness.
Yeah.
I love that. That's awesome. Does anybody else find like the soundtrack for this movie like oddly inspiring? Or is that just me?
Well, it's early Pixar, so
Fair. But it's just like, it's got this like really open etherealness to it. And it's just, I always find the soundtrack really inspiring.
Jake was vibing.
I was vibing. Hardcore.
Vibing. Mhm.
I'm always vibing.
There you go. All right. Well, this has been a Rejoice segment. We're going to take a break and come back and just start, rejecting left and right. So here we go. All right, welcome back. It's time to start rejecting stuff. And Jake gets to start us off right or wrong. I don't know. Reject, it's like, is it right? Is it wrong? It is what it is. It is what it is. What it is, what it is. Jake, help me. Get me off this loop.
So first of all, I just want to preface that I was really nitpicking here. There's not a whole lot to reject in this kind of movie. But I didn't even really think about it too until like the last one of the, like, what is the last scene of the movie when like Dory and her new friends, the sharks, come into the school and they're like introducing her to the school and she's part of the program now. Because I want to reject the fact that there's a anti-fish eating recovery group for sharks. That just doesn't make one, that doesn't make sense to me. Two, like, I don't really two, I don't think that there's anything else I could put in this movie instead of that. Like, it's a good thing. It's funny. I chuckled, but probably no, like, what else are the sharks supposed to eat?
Fair point.
Fair question.
And let me take that next step further, because I don't really think that part of a movie, I mean, this is a cartoon movie. Like, if I really wanted to say, why are the sharks talking? Why are the fish talking? But I think this can be a good opportunity to host a conversation about something I see inside church culture, which is basically what's happening there, asking people to do something or abstain from something that's just not a part of who they are. So my brain kind of went to, I think is it Romans 14? Where he gives it's Romans 14. I can't find exactly where it starts. But where Paul is talking about, and he gives an example about how not to judge other people for their faith and their convictions. And so the example he gives is eating meat that's been offered to other idols. And so he says, hey, if you don't have a problem with it, good for you. If you know somebody that has a problem with it and and you do it around them knowing that it bothers them, then that's on you. And he ends all of that. Not to say that the person who doesn't want to eat meat is wrong, or the person who has no problem with it is wrong, but just to say, do not judge others for their weaker faith. So as an example, like, I have a friend of mine who, and I'm sure like many people know others who are like this, that have a problem with like yoga as a means of exercise because of its origins, because of the fact that some of the poses that are used in it are like poses that offer worship up to other, like, the different Hindu gods. And you know what? I can't argue that. That's probably what they were designed for. But personally, for me, I have no problem with it because in my heart, I'm not worshiping these other gods. So I have no conviction by it. Like, the times that I've done yoga has been to just help myself stay in shape. But I'm not about to go put someone down because they have a problem with it. I'm not going to put down somebody who has a problem with alcohol because they won't step foot in a bar. They're doing what they need to do to protect their faith. And I'm doing what I need to do to protect mine. And the best that we can do, instead of trying to force other people, instead of trying to force a shark not to eat fish, is we help them become who God created them to be and live out in their identity and their convictions.
Which in this specific case happens to be a murder fish that is just going to kill and eat everything.
Well, but like my thought, the thing that got me thinking was like, why is Dory a part of the program to begin with? She's not going to relapse. She's never eaten another fish in her life.
Yeah, that's the point, Jake. You need people in those programs who have no idea what it's like, who have never been through there, who don't know how hard it is, so that they can be on the sides and be your cheerleader and be like, good for you. I don't know anything about this, but I want you to keep going because I say so.
Yes, that's true. That's fair. But if that's
what I do with art. When people paint something, I'm like, that's really cool. I don't know anything about this.
Right. But if
Oh
it's
my
like,
gosh.
I'm not going to sit here and applaud someone to starve themselves because they're not going to feed themselves anything. You know, I want to celebrate the good things. A shark is meant to eat fish.
The good. Yeah.
Fish
Yep.
are food.
Yes,
Not
not
friends.
friends.
Wait, I don't understand why those two things can't be, the same. You can't have an and. Fish are friends and food.
Boom.
You are what you eat. I am my own friend.
Oh my gosh, yes.
All right, we're gonna reclaim this back for Narnia. Just
Oh
that
my
that,
gosh.
that like Romans, what was that? 14?
14.
14. As Jake was talking, I was like looking up Romans 14, verse 19 says, "Let us therefore make every effort to do what leads to peace and to mutual edification."
Mutual.
Right,
Yeah.
That's the key word.
it is. So that's really good. Thanks, Jake. Priscilla, what you got?
So, ironically, I want to reject what you rejoiced, Connor.
How dare you?
Wow.
Because there's two sides to every coin, right?
It's true. There are. Yep, it's true.
Yep, that's a
There are
fact.
3 sides to every coin. And
Oh.
I
The
feel-
inside?
Yeah, there's the. Do I have a
It's-
coin
I
in
mean,
here?
it's more 3D than it is
I-
2.
Yeah, see, like
That's fair.
I just want to point out the fact that I am that third side. So
Oh my gosh.
I don't want to be marginalized like that anymore.
I'm sorry. I
It's okay.
apologize.
It's okay, Priscilla. I know you. I know you didn't mean it.
I did not. No. But anyways, I'm going to be on the opposite of Connor. Because I don't okay, the Just Keep Swimming little song, I admit I did sing all the time and will randomly sing at any time, especially when I'm hanging out with my family, because my sister and I will sing to all of the Disney music all of the time. But I also don't agree with the idea that it can lead to us believing in our culture that we can't ever stop, that you have to continue to do something. I'm not saying you can't persevere, because that is super important, but we get to a point where sometimes it's okay, now we're forcing people to do things that are so hard, and really you do need to pause and breathe, or you need to go have a conversation with somebody, or you just need to kind of be in a standstill. And culture has kind of taught us that when you end up in those spaces, it's actually bad, that you can't be in a standstill. You have to keep going. We don't like the quiet, right? There always has to be a noise. We have to be busy. We have to be moving. And so I also kind of got nitpicky with the Just Keep Swimming, because it's like, no, I don't know that we always have to just keep swimming. Sometimes we do need to stop, and we do need to tell somebody, look, I need help. Or, hey, somebody, can you hold me accountable to this, because this is really hard and this really hurts. It's not always almost a just keep swimming, because you have to figure it out on your own. When we tell ourselves to just keep going, we end up a lot of times doing it by ourselves. And that's not how we were created. That's not what God has called us to be alone. He has not called us to be alone. He has called us to be in community. So I just don't like that can lead. I'm not saying it does, but the potential in our culture even today, right? Because it's us 20 and 30-year-olds who are watching these movies from when we were children. We didn't really get it then, but I think it's kind of fun and interesting to watch them now as adults. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I take that the same as I did as a child. But yeah.
Well, and your whole point, I think that's actually seen in a part of the movie, because there's right after Marlin and Dory see Nemo quote unquote dead, and Marlin just ditches Dory, and Dory's just swimming in circles, freaking out. Right? She's keeping swimming, but she's caught in a loop, and it took Nemo, who she didn't recognize, coming up to her and getting her out of the loop, getting her to stop, for her to recognize that it's time to move on.
Mm. Nemo.
Something about being still.
That's a nice name.
That was great.
I think I shortly I'm going to have another. Oh no, I won't. I took that quote out of my prep. So, incidentally enough, Priscilla and I are reading the same book at the same time right now, which we did not plan.
Great time.
Strengthening the Soul of Your Leadership by Ruth Haley Barton. And she has this quote that I was going to use in prep for this pod, but I didn't end up using it. But I'm going to use it. because it
Do it.
fits perfect with what Priscilla's talking about. She says, because we do not rest, we lose our way.
Mhm.
Poisoned by the hypnotic belief that good things come only through unceasing determination and tireless effort, we can never truly rest. And for want of rest, our lives are in danger.
Mhm.
Oh, so I guess I'll allow you to reject.
Thanks. I
whatever
appreciate it.
choice.
Actually, can I say one more comment? Can I say one more comment though? Because you reminded me now that you read that quote. I was just listening to someone talk about comparing Jonah sleeping in the fish or sleeping on the boat. Sorry, before he's in the fish. Jonah sleeping on the boat and Jesus sleeping in the boat in the middle of a storm, and how it's kind of crazy. It's kind of almost ironic that for Jesus, he wasn't anxious about anything. That was his true rest. He was sleeping. He was resting. He had entrusted whatever was about to happen. He let himself fully fall asleep and could wake up then ready to really take on then that storm he was awoken to. While Jonah, he was in denial. He was running away. He was rejecting all of the things that God had just asked him to do. And so he is then awakened by panic and anxiety because now there's a storm because he's not listening. I just thought that was a very beautiful picture of what that difference can be in when you just keep going and you don't stop and you don't let yourself breathe, versus when you make the time to breathe, even in places that people tell you shouldn't or that it's crazy to. When you wake up or when you go to that next thing, you have so much more energy to keep going. And I think that's also really beautiful.
Yeah, it's great. I'll reject. I reject that, like Marlin in this movie, that we tend to have as humans. We tend to have an unwillingness or an inability to change until like our situational comfort requires it, necessitates it. Like this idea that we're not like we have this lethargy, this like not this inability to adjust, to change, to adapt until we have to. Like we don't oftentimes we don't do it because we like need to or because we should, but because we wait until the moment we have to. So Tony Robbins has this quote that says, change happens when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. So it's this idea that oftentimes we don't change until it's more uncomfortable not to. And I reject that. And I see that played out in this movie in Marlin, right? Because Marlin has this obviously tremendous traumatic experience where he loses his wife and hundreds of kids, right? And he's left with this one Nemo, this one kid, his only kid. And so obviously he has a lot of pain, trauma, he's a lot of fear, a lot of control because of that fear, controlling his environment, controlling his son's environment, trying to control, right? And it's ultimately rebelling against that control that gets Nemo into this predicament. And it's when Nemo, right, is all of a sudden gone and Marlin has to change. He has to face his fears because to not means that he's just going to leave his son out there to, to just
get
be
killed by a
wherever he's gonna
5-year-old.
go. Right. And so he immediately changes, right? He immediately is like, all right, I got to go. I got to go through this big open area that I said I would never go to.
You didn't even think about it.
Right. You got to partner with this random fish that doesn't seem to know what's going on, who just won't stop following me. I got to go to a shark AA meeting or whatever, like he's doing all these crazy things because he has to. And he's changing because he has to. And that's good. The change is good. But I just recognize that oftentimes it takes things like that in my own life before I am willing to change in the way that the Lord is requiring me to change. So I just kind of wrote down, when we worship our comfort, we limit our ability to change or to be changed in the power of the Holy Spirit. And when we are ruled by our fears, we are unwilling to get out of the boat and walk towards Jesus because we're too fixated on the wind and the waves around us. We're like, I'd just rather just stay in the boat. Jesus is out there on the waters. I'd rather just stay in the boat because my fear is keeping me from steps of faith. And so again, Marlin is only willing to move forward through his fears when to not do so would mean giving up on his son. So that's just a big thought and just encouragement for myself and for all of us to consider what are those ways that God is calling us to step out of the boat and to face our fears, and an encouragement to do it now. Don't wait until you have to do it. Just do it. Shia LaBeouf.
Just do it.
All right, that wraps up our reject segment. We got the namesake of the pod coming up next. We're gonna take a break and we'll be right back. All right, we back. It's time to redeem. Oh, so excited for this. Love this every time we do it. All right, so again, we are redeeming not just what is good, but what reminds us, points us to Jesus and the gospel. Jesus. Have you had your Jesus today? Okay, I'm not going to unpack that. We're just going to keep it moving. I get to go first on the old redeem. And again, we're looking for points in the story, in this movie, that remind us of the gospel. Points of the truth of the gospel, and that we can use as bridge points for culture as they engage with this movie to say, hey, look, there's Jesus dressed as a clownfish. I want to redeem. I want to.
You want to unpack that for us?
I'm about to. Hold on. I'll get there. All right.
Sorry.
All right. I want to redeem the lengths that a father will go to save his rebellious child. And if you're a Christian, you should already know where I'm going with this. So again, Marlin, right? His son goes out, swims out to where he's not supposed to swim. And he's like, don't touch it. Don't do it. And he goes out and he touches the butt, right? Boom, hits it. And then he gets, when the scuba diver comes in, captures him, gets him on the boat, and away he goes, right? His disobedience to his father all of a sudden has left him on like the other side of the ocean from where Marlin is at. And Marlin, it's not like Nemo works his way back to Marlin. It's that Marlin, the father, goes to where Nemo is. He goes to where he is, right? And you just watch the movie, all these crazy situations and stuff that he's moving through, that he's going through to get there. And it's such a story that the entire ocean is hearing about it, right? As Marlin's going through this, they're telling the story. The pelican, comes in and is like telling the story about this dad who's doing these crazy things so that he can find his lost son, and so this movie just reminds me, this is just a taste of how far God, our Heavenly Father, has gone to rescue and redeem us. So, right, like Romans 5:8, God demonstrates his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. And then, the softball pitch of them all, John 3:16, God so loved, not was angry with, God so loved the world.
The fishes,
all the fishes, so loved the world that he gave his one only son. And so that's how far our Heavenly Father is willing to go. And so when I look at this story of Marlin and how far he's willing to go for his son, it just reminds me of how far God has already gone for us. So
I don't see it. I feel like you're pulling it. You're stretching it a little bit.
I had to work real hard for that one. Man, it was really hard to put those two together. All right. Hey, Jake, what would you like to redeem?
I'm gonna finish that gospel story real fast.
Ooh.
Because while we were talking during the reject section, I kind of realized that the moment of Marlin and Dory are like just swimming away because they think Nemo's dead and Nemo coming to them, that's literally the road to Emmaus. That whole story. You have two people who are walking away in despair and hopelessness. And Nemo, Jesus, coming to them, and they don't recognize him. Well, she doesn't recognize him. And so then he starts explaining, no, I'm looking for my dad. And then finally, like, just all the stuff then finally is revealed. Oh, shoot, that Nemo. And then rushes off to tell others, or to tell Marlin, like, look, he's alive. He's alive. So it's literally the story of the road to Emmaus. The book I'm thinking of is Searching for Enough by Tyler Staton, who talked about the road to Emmaus, but also the disciple of Thomas, and how the power of the empty grave doesn't actually give us freedom until we personally experience it. How if Thomas had just heard that Jesus is risen, that wouldn't have changed his life. In fact, you know what? It didn't. until Jesus walked in the room and said, Thomas, put your hands in the holes, like touch the scars on my hand. Put your hand on my side. Feel the scar. It is me. I am here. Or for the two gentlemen on the road to Emmaus, when they finally like realized, hey, this was Jesus. Didn't you feel the same burning in your heart? And then they turn around and they ran back in the middle of the night just to tell the disciples. Like it takes a personal experience with Jesus in order for the power of the resurrection to bring new life into us. And so I grew up my whole life in a church that just talked about it, but never helped me. Or maybe they tried to, and I just didn't see it. Maybe it just wasn't my time. I don't know. But Jesus did not reveal himself personally to me. And so I heard about it my whole life growing up, but it really just meant nothing. And it will always mean nothing until you experience it. You can memorize half the Bible. You can learn all the different theologies and heresies and everything and all the translations. You can speak all the ancient languages, but if you have not personally experienced Christ and the power of the Holy Spirit and the resurrection, you have nothing.
You better preach. I thought Jordan was going to say something. He got the lean.
Well, there's been so many different songs that have been going through my head this whole time.
You can give us a couple?
Yeah, I can give you a couple. First one is a song that mentions the prodigal son. It's called The River by a band called Good Charlotte. That one's actually more about the dangers of Hollywood, though, and how it's not as glamorous as people say. But the other one you were talking, what was the book that you mentioned? The Art of something, Jake?
Searching for Enough.
For some reason, I thought you said something about the Art of Enough or something like that. There's an album coming out. When this podcast releases, it'll be like 3 days away. On October 11th, there's an album coming out called The Art of Letting Go by Miles Kennedy. And one of the songs on that album is Nothing More to Gain. And it's a lot about that idea of like not craving more and more and more, trying to satisfy your own desires. Really cool song.
Awesome.
And
that
then,
dude writes lyrics that are so close to the gospel. So close.
So good. He's just a great writer. Anyway, the third song that I had was I think it's called That's All I Need to Know by 1,000 Foot Crutch.
Cool, man.
Yeah, All I Need to Know by 1,000 Foot Crutch. Which is also lyrically very close to what you were saying.
Hey, we haven't had a Jordan song recommendation of the week in a while, so
we haven't. And it's so odd that none of them were Disciple.
I mean, we already mentioned Disciple once, Andrew Stanton.
I mean, if you want me to mention a Disciple song, I'll do it if you say so.
Tell you what, we'll do that as a tease for the next one. Come up with one for next time, because we got.
I've already teased it in this episode.
Well, there you go. It's been teased.
And if you figure it out, put it in the comments, and Jordan will tell you if you're right.
This is true.
Wow. All right. Last redeem, Pastor Priscilla.
Oh my!
I know. No pressure.
That was a little official.
I just wanted to bring the weight of this moment to the audience and to you. No pressure. But,
did she just log off?
Oh no!
She's like, I'm out. Too much pressure. You can't handle it.
I hope her
amazing.
device didn't just die.
And it was plugged in. I don't know what happened.
That's really funny.
Easy. Computer sucks. That's what happened.
Camera's alert.
All right. You're good. We can hear you now.
All right. Pastor Priscilla, you want to hit us with the last redeem. Bring it home.
All right. I guess that's a lot of pressure, but that's fine.
You got it.
Okay, so actually the power of community, I feel like I relate this to like every single movie that I watch. But there's a lot of trauma that happens at the just within the first 5 minutes of the movie. There's imprints from the very beginning in the characters' lives that it takes a whole journey really to help them unpack how they feel, and really why their actions were their actions was because what they were holding on to from the very beginning. Nemo has to learn that even though he has a smaller fin, he still can do things. Marlin learns that even though his son he's not an adult yet, but he's not the child that he can probably visually see every time he just sees Nemo. He thinks of the moment that he's looking at him in the egg and like, this is my last child, like this is my only child, or whatever those imprints were. But how it took, I always think of it takes a village to raise a kid, or it takes a village to XYZ. I think that's really what happened here, even just with Nemo. I don't think Nemo or Marlin could grow until they could get past their trauma. But how did they grow? By going on this really crazy adventure. But in community, it was what allowed them to process how they were feeling about the different things. Nemo ended up hearing from another male figure that kind of helped him, process some of his feelings and the things that he had going on. Marlin also had another adult. Well, if they're adults, I don't know what they are, I guess. Another person that he had kind of, again, traumatic things that even happened within that relationship that helped remember the past, or with the turtles or whatever they were. I just think it's so cool that first we can't make an excuse of like, well, I don't have any friends, or I don't have people who like me. There's somebody, and they don't even have to be your best friend, because Marlin had a random person who couldn't remember anything, and turtles who he only had a short amount of time with, who helped him though process what he needed in order to grow. I think we can get stuck in, well, I don't have a close enough relationship with whoever, but we can still use those small pieces if we allow ourselves to be open and vulnerable, sometimes with a stranger, or sometimes we do have people that that are close enough, and we have to be willing to be vulnerable in those spaces. So yeah, I love that the whole example of the power of community, and really the power of trauma. Trauma is a big deal. It does impact, it leaves imprints in our life. But if we're willing to walk through them and allow God to use them and other people in our lives, they can impact us negatively, or they can impact us positively, or at least get us to the next thing, that we can keep going. So,
right. No, that's great. I think I thought of, when we think about who has God put in our life to help us along the journey, oftentimes it's like, just look to your left or to your right. Like who's around you, and who can you reach out to?
Well, and
have those.
Oh, sorry. I think a big part of Marlin, that what he got over was he stopped assuming the worst about everybody. Because and you're right. He just looked to his left and his right, and he found people willing to help no matter where he went.
Yeah. Jordan, you got any final thoughts?
I do have a final thought.
Oh.
This is neither here nor there, but everybody should go learn how to make the American Sign Language hand signs for turtle, because it's amazing.
Is that what you've been doing for the last 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Jordan's just in the Zoom chat over here making a weird hand gesture that I was like, what is he doing right now?
And I was really like, oh, he's doing a turtle. It makes sense to me.
It's ASL for turtle.
It's a turtle.
Isn't it amazing? It's just
I like turtles. I like turtles.
I like turtles.
Everybody listening to this is going to be very confused.
Right.
That's okay.
I think that's a great spot to end on. Especially since two of us have to leave right now. So, it just works out. Perfect. Nailed it. So thanks for listening today, everybody. If you could, again, like, comment, subscribe, all the verbs, we would appreciate it. But most of all, we hope this was an uplifting podcast for you, a chance for you to critically analyze how God is moving and working and visible through something as simple but profound as the movie Finding Nemo, and that we can find God in all things as we look around us. So again, until next time, remember just that God is at work in pop culture. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.